Chris, this side is different. The last bit we were looking at was emetic based. What have we got in this side of the trial?
So this one is called Summer Dorm. It's a cocksfoot, but it's meant to, and it will in most conditions, live up to its name of being summer dormant, and that is the way this perennial cocksfoot enables itself to survive in our Mediterranean environment. But in this, where we've sown it in the Undervine area with the irrigation that it receives, and the trigger for going dormant has become dormant itself, I suppose, and so it remains green all through the season. This is the first year that since we've sown it, and it's grown pretty well, but once it gets properly established, as in next year, we'll see that it'll be very, very effective at competing against all these more obnoxious weeds which we seem to have growing very, very effectively through here as a result of the amazing season that we've just had. But from evidence from other sites, it is an extremely effective plant for suppressing, as in, and controlling the growth of weeds in its presence. It just does not allow any of the fleabane, prickly lettuce, thistles to grow where it is growing. So some might say it's becoming a weed in itself. So that's an item for discussion, because this certainly taking out an amount of water from the profile and from the vines, and we have witnessed in other sites about a 20% yield reduction where we haven't changed the watering regime at all where we've had this growing. But it is suggested by some that, well, let's just put on some extra water and we won't have to apply any herbicides, so we've overcome that need for getting the herbicide card out, all its associated costs and so on, just by having this plant growing and putting extra water on. And that can happen fairly cheaply. We can establish this for under $300 a sown hectare, which is pretty cheap. So when it comes to a vine row, so again, just sowing it one row each side of the vine, it's potentially a very cheap mechanism of long-term weed control, so long as we are willing to put on a little bit extra water, or where a reduction in yield may be, as we're seeing at some of the other sites, we are actually improving fruit quality as a result of having these cover crops in the root zone of the vines.
Chris, are you starting to see any changes in the soil as a result of these cover crops? Are you looking at that in any way?
At the site, it's only a demonstration site, Stuart. We're not doing much in the way of research here. We don't have the funding to get into full-scale research with it. In other sites, though, we have certainly seen where, particularly where we have the medics, which we showed before, in the Undervine area, we have seen significant increases in soil carbon as a result of that. Certainly increasing the soil nitrogen levels.